Trials connected to two mass shootings in schools in the United States are grabbing the national spotlight. Court is closed today for the Florida penalty trial of gunman Nikolas Cruz due to Hurricane Ian. Jurors are tasked with deciding whether Cruz will receive the death penalty or life in prison without parole after he killed 17 people at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018.
In Connecticut, more Sandy Hook families are testifying today in the trial of Alex Jones. Jurors are deciding just how much InfoWars host should pay the families and an FBI agent who sued him after he called the shooting a hoax. So joining us now is David Weinstein. He's a partner at Jones Walker. He's also a former federal prosecutor who last served as an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Florida. Thanks for joining us. All right, so let's dig into this. David, prosecutors have begun their rebuttal case in Nikolas Cruz's sentencing trial. He pled guilty, so this is just about the sentencing. What's their strategy?
Well, Anne-Marie, their strategy is to now rebut the evidence that the defense put forward to two basic things that they're going to rely on to ask a juror or more that he deserves a life sentence and not the death penalty, and that's fetal alcohol spectrum disorder and antisocial personality disorder. So the state has now put it on witnesses yesterday, and they'll continue once they get back in court to show that these two things are not as severe as the defense is making them out to be. And even if they are disorders or afflictions that he's suffering from, that they don't outweigh the aggravating factors that they've shown. And some of the witnesses have already shown that Cruz is not this antisocial necessarily person or suffering so severely from fetal alcohol spectrum disorder that he can't formulate thoughts and a plan and carry out what he's been doing. And we saw some of that yesterday from his evaluation by a forensic psychiatrist. Interesting.
So Cruz's defense team abruptly rested their case earlier this month. You remember, Vlad?
Yeah.
The judge got mad.
They just was really mad at them and scolded them.
Yeah, totally. Why did they do that? Because the expectation was there would be many, many more witnesses, they had said.
Well, you don't necessarily call every witness who you've listed, but you have to list them all. And at some point during the testimony they were presenting, they either believed that they had one or more jurors who were agreeing with what they were presenting, or they simply realized that to present any more evidence along the lines of what they did wasn't going to get them any farther than they had already. And then finally, they decided Cruz wasn't going to testify, and there was no reason to bring in evidence or information or testimony about his time at high school or what he was doing in high school, that wouldn't have helped their case. So they believed that they had done all that they were going to do and that they needed to move on. And although it came as a surprise to the judge, it was a tactical error that they made based on what they were observing in the courtroom.
So let's turn our attention now to Alex Jones. More and more Sandy Hook families are testifying today. Explain what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve through the testimony that they're delivering.
Well, he's already been found guilty of having damaged them. And so now it's up to the jurors to decide exactly how much punishment monetarily that they're going to be able to extract out of Alex Jones. So their testimony is to show the suffering that they've gone through, not just right after it happened, but after he made his statements and after attention was drawn to them, and the both mental anguish and potential physical suffering that they're going through as a result of what he said. The more that they've suffered, the greater that they believe this jury should feel it is, and that their award should be in an amount that exceeds even what he received in that Texas verdict last year.
So part of the reason that Alex Jones was found guilty is because basically he was not cooperating with this process. He wouldn't hand over documents, and the judge was like, that's it, guilty by default. So I'm curious now how his defense team is going to seek to minimize the compensation that he owes to the plaintiffs, because I don't think he showed much respect for the process, though I know my opinion doesn't count because I'm a journalist, but it appears as if he hasn't shown much respect for the process all along.
Well, your opinion does matter a little bit, Anne-Marie, because that's what these jurors are going to think. They're going to think, well, he's already been found guilty of having damaged these people. And so now how much money do we award them? So what his lawyers are trying to do is trying to show, and I'm not sure they've been successful doing that the plaintiffs brought this on themselves, that they have, in the words of Jones's lawyers, politicized this and that what Alex Jones said may have caused them some damage and some harm, but not to the extent of what they're claiming they're suffering from right now, and that they're trying to sort of shift the blame to these plaintiffs and to get the jurors to say, well, it's not just Alex Jones's fault. I'm not sure that that's going to go very far. It didn't work very well in Texas, but who knows what the jurors think once they get into that jury room.
So how significant is this defamation trial that Alex Jones already faced earlier this year to the outcome of this trial?
Well, they certainly aren't going to be able to introduce what the award was in that case or what happened there. But by going back through that trial and seeing what testimony worked, what arguments worked, it's going to help the plaintiffs and to some degree the defense sort of build their arguments and make the right argument to these jurors that the suffering that they've gone through deserves an award that's millions of dollars in size.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm curious. It's been such an interesting legal chess game that he's been playing, really dragging this whole process out. I wonder that once there is a conclusion, if there are damages, in what other ways will we see the process being dragged out? Will these people ever see any money if that is what they are awarded?
Well, that's the last way this is going to get dragged out. There is a parallel bankruptcy proceeding going on with the company, InfoWars itself. He's being sued individually and the company. So it's going to be some time. They may get an award. It may be a very large award. But the question here is, how long will it take them to collect it? And will they ever collect any of it?
Indeed. David Weinstein, thank you very much.
You're welcome.